find the chess move?
I did. It was in the design of Val Davis's pass card. Look, I'm ready to meet with you. Just tell me when and where.
It isn't safe yet, but I have another lead for you. Find out about Greg Call.
Who's Greg Call?
He was the lead programmer on the STG project. He knew about Overlord.
Well, how do I find him? Greg Call. Overlord. Either one.
Call is dead.
Well, that's gonna make him easy to find.
Call suspected that someone on the inside was selling out the STG project. For that reason, he relocated to a secret base of operation. If you find that, all your questions will be answered.
Any hints on how I'm supposed to do that?
The police were warned that Call might turn up dead. They may have found something that could lead you to where he was working. Oh, I gotta go.
So Greg Call was the head of the STG project.
Yeah, but he was the dead head.
So now you went back to see Detective Clements, right?
Good guess.
You seem to think I'm some sort of street informant. I'm gonna start charging you for these consultations.
You know, you've been so very good to me. I think I'm gonna do you a favor. I know where Big Jim's slate is.
If you're on the level, I'll trade you any information you want.
Done. Slade's at the Big Surf Lodge, number 6. It's off the Pacific Coast Highway just north of Big Sur.
How do you find out about these people? He died a few days ago. We would have chalked it up to natural causes. An aneurysm, maybe. Except we got an anonymous tip through 911 the day before he died. Tips just said that if he died, we should perform an autopsy. It only turned up one unusual thing. A small capsule planted under the skin. Inside was a plastic tag with markings on it. We couldn't make heads or tails of it. Maybe you should give it a try. Never heard of him. Seems like a decent guy for a politician. I'll probably vote for him. I don't have a lot of time to waste, Murphy. I know he's a billionaire and runs Gideon Enterprises. That's about it. I haven't got any information on that. Never heard of him. I don't have a lot of time to waste, Murphy. She was a professor at USF. Died in a speeder wreck a couple of weeks ago. I guess you're gonna tell me it wasn't an accident, right? You've got quite an imagination. She was some sort of research scientist. Her family had us investigate her death, but we didn't find any evidence to indicate that it was anything but accidental poisoning. I've heard of it, but I don't have any privileged information about it.
Looks like mail's still being delivered to this address. It appears to be a Braille alphabet.
Nexus? What does that stand for?
I'm not sure it stood for anything. But I surmised that it had to do with Greg Call's secret base of operations. Now I had to ask around to see if anyone knew about it. You'll never guess who did.
You caught me at the last moment, Mr. Murphy. I was preparing to go abroad.
That sounds good. You know, I've heard Amsterdam is great.
Everything you've heard is true. I highly recommend it. Now, I think I can spare you a few moments before I leave. Your investigation has certainly got you into some obscure channels. Years ago, well after the government signed the UNGP treaty, Gideon Enterprises bought the rights to utilize dozens of abandoned government installations. Nexus was the code name for an underground military facility located in Washington State near Mount Shasta. I don't believe we ever used the location. Well, this photo concerns me, but I prefer not to discuss it if you don't mind. Now there's a name I haven't heard in ages. I hired Sam to work at Gideon some 15 years ago, and after a decade of fruitful labors, we parted amicably. And then sadly we lost touch. I wish I could be of more assistance. Gregory was my right-hand man when I founded Gideon Enterprises, a brilliant programmer. Until recently, he headed a division of the corporation. I heard that Shimming fired him, undoubtedly removing the last traces of my influence. No, I'm unfamiliar with the name. Well, these chess moves are curious and vaguely familiar. Or perhaps they were part of some fabled match I may have read about. I can't say for certain.
Nexus Base took a long time to find, and I won't bore you with the details, but the installation looked totally derelict from the outside. Once I found a way inside, I entered an underground laboratory that was brand new, state-of-the-art.
Was there anyone there?
No, but as soon as I stepped inside, I did hear a voice.
Stand by for system scan.
So those men that jumped you had put some sort of implant into your head.
Exactly. And it seemed like I was in the best possible place to do something to remove it. I started looking around with just that in mind.
Just that in mind. No pun intended, I'm sure.
If the implant I'm carrying around is on this list, it must be number P333. Now I need to figure out which of the kamikaze implants will neutralize it. Standard keyboard. Oh, a chip-making device manufactured by Frito Intel. The two megacorporations merged a few years back and cornered the chip market. The mysterious informant said I'd find answers to all my questions if I found this place. Maybe this computer is the motherlode. A Lynx LS mug. I've got to play that one of these days. This looks like an autoclave. It's used for storing items in a sterile environment. Hey, slushy machines. Implant removal station. Well, the IRS has always been good at removing everything else from me. Hey, slushy machines. Well, that won't work. If the implant I'm carrying around is on this list, it must be number P333. Now I need to figure out which of the kamikaze implants will neutralize it. If the implant I'm carrying around is on this list, it must be number P333. Now I need to figure out which of the kamikaze implants will neutralize it. If the implant I'm carrying around is on this list, it must be number P. Well, that's not gonna work. That doesn't seem to do anything. Well, that won't work. I guess Greg Call must have designed the solution to neutralize the overseer implants. Now I have to find a way to inject it into my bloodstream. Well, apparently I have to do something else before I can start the implant removal procedure.
You injected yourself with that thing?
I had to. Then I went into the scanning booth. The fun was just starting. The green diamond must indicate the location of the P333 implant. I have to move the kamikaze implant into one of the blood vessels where it will appear as a blue cross. Then, I have to navigate it until it reaches the implant and neutralizes it. Uh-oh. Those flashing dots look like trouble. Must represent antibodies. And I guess they're out to get rid of the new infection. I'd better steer clear. I'd neutralized the Overseer chip, which someone had designed to be fatal in my case, or a controlling device to others. I still had no idea who was pulling the strings, but as I stepped out of the removal station, I heard sounds just outside the main entrance. I ducked behind a display panel and waited to see who it was.
Hello? Hello? Okay. I'm really not very good with surprises.
Well, it isn't my mystery man. What's your name?
Larry Hammond. I would have told you earlier, but I have some serious trust issues going on. With all that's happened, I've got the right to be a little paranoid.
Yeah, I guess you do. You haven't been using the code name Poison Pawn, have you?
No. Why?
That's not important. How'd you get here?
I followed you. I wanted to make sure you came here alone.
Well, I hope you were more careful about being followed than I was.
Now, I have a very strong sense of self-preservation. I even brush my teeth carefully.
Yeah, it shows. Why don't we just start at the top and see what you know? Tell me about Carl Linsky.
Well, Linsky and I both worked on STG. But I didn't know him back then. I recognized his picture in the paper from when he had his suicide.
Well, that's helpful. How about STG?
It was a really mysterious operation. I mean, Greg brought me in to do some programming. I didn't know anybody on the design team, and we weren't encouraged to get to know each other either. I mean, once we got our instructions, we went off to work in different places. None of us knew what each other was working on.
So, who's in charge of this little circus?
Greg had been there the longest. He was pretty much running the show.
So is he this overlord I've come to hear so much about?
Oh, no, there had to have been higher-ups. I knew Greg for a long time. We were in Mutant League together.
Oh. Just so I understand something here, the reason you got in contact with me is because you wanted me to find Carl's lab, right? Why?
Well, early on in the program, Greg got really paranoid and relocated his base of operation. And no one knew where he was at. I didn't even see him until after I finished my work with STG. A couple of weeks ago, after all the mysterious deaths, I decided to go underground to get a read on my life expectancy. Well, you see, I was underground, and Greg found me, which didn't give me a great sense of well-being. Anyway, he said he needed my help.
To do what?
He wanted to find the pass cards we'd all been issued. You see, all 8 of us received these cards at the beginning of the project. They were used to transmit data from wherever we were working to some sort of central computer. Now, the whereabouts of that computer, that was top secret.
Well, what about the chess moves?
Oh, I don't know anything about those. I think they were Greg's idea. He designed the cards.
And you've got a card.
Yeah. Here. You take it. Just holding the thing next to my skin just gives me the hives.
No, it's that polyester.
Really?
You told me if I came here that I was going to get the answer to all of my questions.
I said that? No, I was just guessing. I've got something that might help. Now, Greg gave me this the last time I saw him. Now, he said, don't open it unless something happened to him. I think something happened to him.
What are we supposed to do with it?
What are we supposed to do with it? It's your problem now. I told you everything I know. I gave you a pass card, and I gave you what Greg gave me. I'm out of here. I'm gonna go somewhere and try not to get killed. Hasta la pasta, baby.
Hey, Larry. Thanks for the help.
Anytime.
So Larry was the mysterious informant. And he said he wasn't the poison pawn. Well, what was in the envelope he gave you?
There was a note written from Greg Call to Larry. There was more to the content of the note than met the eye.